Aaron Pico gets knocked out. And for Aaron Pico to lose anything, and I wouldn't give a goddamn if it was a card game. I wouldn't care if they were leg wrestling. If Aaron Pico comes up short, it's a surprise for me. 22 years of age, fantastic in everything. Handsome guy. Body looks like he's carved out of clay. Work ethic that is a thing of legend. Skills. Then this guy was an alternate for the United States Olympic team. And by the way, when he was an alternate, he lost a tied score 4-4. The guy that went on to the didn't even outscore him. 4-4 against Frank Molinaro. Okay. He then is training at the Wild Card boxing gym. Freddie Roach likes him so much, he brings him in as a sparring partner for Manny Pacquiao. This kid's only 18 years old at the time. Comes into Bellator, he's got all the hype around him, and of course, what happens? What happens in everybody's very first fight? They lay an egg. He gets caught in a guillotine choke and gets choked out in like 15 seconds. It was hilarious. It was so bad. Okay, boom, got that first one out of the way. He goes on a tear, and quite frankly, he was on a tear in this last fight. The fight was about 8 minutes in. Everything's going Pico's way. He's not standing up and trading and being quite as dangerous on his feet like he loves to do. He's been a little bit smarter and using some of that high-level wrestling. He's kind of showing a little bit of everything. It's a very good performance, but he's also in there with a very tough fighter. And Pico just started looking down. He started telegraphing a little bit of what he was going to do. He's looking down. I'm getting ready to shoot. And the guy just jumped up with a flying knee. Put him out. It was as simple as that. But it was a very stunning moment for me. I'm looking at this guy, does everything right. Lives the life, stays home at night, goes to bed early, gets up early, really does everything perfect that a world or Olympic champion would do. But in this sport, it is not 2 + 2. 2 + 2 does not equal 4 in mixed martial arts. 2 + 2 could equal 9 some days. It could equal 11 on some days. It could equal 3 on some days. We only have basic ideas of what's going to work. That is all we are left with. This is still an experiment. Mixed martial arts at the highest of levels is still an experiment. At the highest of levels, it is still in the infancy stages. I have watched wonderful fighters. Vanderlei Silva comes to mind. Wonderful fighters. Shogun Hua comes to mind. Who have come out publicly and been very candid and said, guys, if I could do my career again, I would have trained different. As the sport was starting to form, and as we're all trying to figure out, it just made sense to us that the harder you fought in practice, the harder you could fight under the lights. The bigger blows you took in practice, the more you can get used to taking those big blows in fights. They're right. And before anybody snickers them and goes, how'd you come up with it? You're totally right. Yeah, I get that they're wrong. They're right on that logic, and I went through it too. The harder let's put on the little gloves and no headgear. Let's go today without mouthpieces. That'll make us really tough. The more pain, the more you could suffer. The worse it was, the worse conditions. The worse food you could eat, the least you could sleep at night. All these different things made you tougher, made you better. It was going to work. It was a sacrifice. You were paying. And we're finding out that it's just not necessarily true. Good to get good sleep at night. Great to spar with trustable partners in headgear and appropriate sized gloves, full size 16-ounce gloves. And then on top of all of that, don't fight. Just go in and spar. I use that as an example because I know that's one that you guys have heard and that you'll be able to understand. But some of the other philosophies in mixed martial arts, we just don't know yet. If you ask me what does a perfect athlete need to do, what do I want my son, if he goes into the sport, what do I want him to do? My dream. You're going to fall short of your dreams, but if I had a dream and I laid it out for guys, I would tell you right now it would be Aaron Pico. I want my son to treat people. I want him to act like. I want him to carry himself. I want him to dress like. I want him to train like. I want him to be disciplined like. I want him to eat like Aaron Pico. It seems to me on all levels of logic that is your perfect scenario of discipline, of focus, of hard work, of grit and determination. And I think I'm right. Even with the examples that I've laid out, even being fully aware that we are still in an experimental phase, I still come to the same conclusion that I'm right. But 2 + 2 does not equal 4. We're not baking chocolate chip cookies here. You can put in the flour and you can put in the butter and you can put in the sugar. You can put in the chocolate chips, you can crack the eggs, you can whip it all together, you can bake it at 425 for 15 to 18 minutes. Doesn't mean it turns out right. So what does Aaron Pico do? And by the way, guys, I'm talking specifically about Aaron Pico because I'm a tremendous Aaron Pico believer and a tremendous Aaron Pico fan. For those of you that may not even be familiar with who Aaron Pico is, insert any name you want. Because this is a young man on a journey who has stared at the landscape, who understands competing, who understands a round system, who understands outworking his opponent, goes out and does all of those things, but doesn't have an unblemished record. It is very shocking and it's very peculiar. What will we be doing in 10 years? Where is MMA going? Where is the training and the preparation and the philosophies going? And I don't have those answers. All that I've been able to identify from my experience over this weekend is that we're not there yet.